welcome back to the Middling Along podcast. My guest today is best-selling author, stylist and former editor and journalist Samantha Harman. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
How does it feel to hear best-selling author?
It doesn't feel real. What? The response to the book has been quite overwhelming, actually. And
we should say what it's called before we get going. Sorry, my bad. So it is called Just Get Dressed, Why You Have Nothing to Wear and What to Do About It. Apologies for that massive oversight. Yeah, carry on.
I feel like because I've spoken about the book so much, I just forget that people maybe don't know. It's been overwhelming to hear the feedback, and that's what I wrote it for. I wrote it for this one woman. I had her in mind the whole time who felt really confused by her wardrobe, or like she'd never quite grasped style or what that means, or she's always chasing this idea of who she's supposed to be. And I wanted this book to really help her. And so to receive the feedback from women that it has done that job is amazing. It makes it all worth it, the whole process.
And to be clear, so it's not, I mean, if you flick through it, there's not a single picture in there. It's not giving you kind of outfit ideas, telling you, I know you talk about this in the book itself, it's not like, what to wear if you're an apple shape or a pear or whatever fruit it is that we're supposed to identify with. But it is, so it's very much about that kind of, that inner work. And, there are exercises in there that you kind of take people through. And it's probably an potentially uncomfortable process for some people to have to go through.
Yep. In the book, I say there will be points where you probably want to throw it out the window and forget it, or you want to gloss over doing the work because it feels tough, it's hard to do. But the work is the work. The reason that our wardrobes don't work properly is because we aren't viewing them as the physical manifestation of beliefs, identity, culture, society, generational trauma, politics, gender, class. All of this stuff is actually converging in our wardrobe. So when we open our wardrobe in the morning and we think, I've got nothing to wear, it's not for a lack of clothing, because we have clothes. We literally have clothes to put on our bodies. It's not that we have nothing to wear. It's that we don't know who we're supposed to be, or we don't know how to live up to this expectation of who we're supposed to be in a world of rules that don't really make any sense. And the personal styling industry, I genuinely think that it has its heart in the right place. It is trying to help women. But unfortunately, I believe it's doing the opposite, because it's giving them more rules to follow. And that's exhausting, and it's very prescriptive. And my whole philosophy is style is self-expression, and it's completely individual to you. And so this is really about understanding yourself and then how you want to translate that into what you wear.
Now, I'll take us all the way back to the end of the book, because you talk, and very movingly in the epilogue, about your own grandmother, Audrey. And I love a bit of synchronicity. So my grandmother was Phyllis, who must have grown up not a million miles away from yours in Portsmouth. They were both, I think maybe your grandmother was a little bit younger, because I think mine must have been a teenager during the kind of the Second World War bombings and Portsmouth was really kind of obliterated, wasn't it? She very narrowly kind of escaped with her life. But I'm just trying to think, in those two generations, women's lives have changed so much, haven't they? And kind of who you talk about this again in the book, it's sort of, we have these sort of multifaceted personae that we are expected to be out there in the world. And obviously we're so much more visible in terms of, we're interacting with probably many times more people than we would have done, both face to face, but also via sort of social media. So can we maybe delve into that a little bit? Are we still kind of, our brains still playing catch up with this sort of disconnect of that kind of generational change?
Absolutely, they are. There's so much information that we know about not just our brains, but also our genetics. is an area of growing research. The research that we do have shows us that trauma, things that happen to literally your grandparents, affect you today, because when they go through a traumatic experience, it alters the parts of their DNA that kind of flag, so that it may be years later and you have an adverse reaction to something and you don't really know why you have an adverse reaction to it. It's because your ancestors face that traumatic thing, and you then have learned in your DNA that that thing is dangerous or traumatic, or not to go near it. So there's that. And then there's also, like you say, so my grandmother was born in 1927, so that's almost, it will be 100 years next year, so 99 years. In 99 years, we have many more rights. Arguably, things aren't moving at the pace that we would want them to. We have more rights, we have technology. Our brains haven't altered, our brains haven't changed, they haven't developed that much since then. In fact, they haven't developed that much for hundreds of thousands of years. So you also then have the flight, fight, freeze, fawn, tongue twister, because parts of your brain are prehistoric. So being a visible woman is not just simply a case of show up and wear your best outfit. Parts of your brain that are prehistoric are like, this is dangerous, because we learned that if we do anything that puts us outside of the community, we get ostracized and we're out there on our own in the wild, we're not going to survive. And that's why when you open your wardrobe in the morning, like, you're not just trying to find an outfit, you're actually having to navigate all of that, the prehistoric parts of your brains, the generational trauma, the things that have happened in your lifetime.
Do I blend in? Do I stand out? Who am I?
Yeah, exactly. It's not just simply a case of just go for it, girlfriend, just put on your outfit and show up and get visible, because that is, to your nervous system, to your brain, that is inherently quite a dangerous thing to do. So that's why you might have an outfit in your wardrobe that you bought because you're like, that epitomizes who I want to be, and it's fabulous and it's a stunning color and it really stands out, and I'm never going to wear it because it's too dangerous, it's too much.
Yeah. And I think there's also, there's a lot of resistance around kind of clothing as that self-expression, whether we kind of think ourselves or other people kind of shame us for like, oh, it's frivolous. There are so many more important things we could be talking about, but you're very much talking about your clothing, your wardrobe, what you wear as a tool. So can you talk a little bit about that for anyone that's not?
I would love to. Yeah. One of the things that really frustrates me about my work, or a lot of the time that I spend in content, is explaining the context, because often people see the word stylist or they see a conversation about clothes and they automatically think this is silly, this is frivolous. We're all wearing clothes, so that means that we are participating in an industry that none of us get to opt out of, because we are part of it whether we like it or not. So if someone comes to me and they tell me that clothes don't matter, I would say back, are you naked whilst we're having this conversation? Because if you're not naked when we're having this conversation, that means that clothes matter, and it means that you're participating in an industry that you are somehow saying that you're above. I think for women, there is also this martyrdom wrapped up in it, because as wives, as mothers, as caregivers, as the squeezed middle generation, which a lot of women are now because they have young children, they have aging parents, we aren't supposed to look after ourselves. We're supposed to give everything to everyone else, and there is no room for us. And so therefore, an act of spending time in our wardrobe or dressing nicely somehow is the selfish thing to do, because you have been conditioned not to spend time on yourself. And then in the context of these generations that we're talking about as well, there is that hangover from the war, and without going too deep into it, like British colonialism, we have a lot of guilt, we have a lot of like the Irish famine, all of that stuff is still very present in our culture, and in British culture as well. We have a really messed up relationship with self-promotion and money and class, and all of that is converging in our wardrobes. And ultimately, if you can unlearn all of that stuff, you can learn about the context of it. That means that you give yourself the choice to start to learn how to use your wardrobe as a business tool, which is something that the prevailing classes, the white heteronormative men who've been running the systems for years, is something that they just do. They just know how to do it. They're allowed to do it in a way that women have not been allowed to do. A man, if he gets a new job, is going to spend money on a new suit, and no one's going to say a word because, well, he's a boss, so of course he needs a nice new suit. If a woman does the same sort of thing, we know from the various studies that we have, she'll get judged on it. She'll get judged on it by other women as well. There is a study that's in the book that shows that women who spend money on, let's say, designer labels, they are seen as more put together, but they're also seen as less trustworthy by other women. So all of this is playing into why we're not spending money on ourselves, why we find ourselves in the supermarket the night before a big meeting. We're in the supermarket doing everything for everyone else, because even though we've got a full-time job and 2-3 children and all this other stuff going on, we also are the person responsible for doing the majority of the household chores. We're in the supermarket and we're like, I don't have a shirt to wear to that meeting tomorrow because I've not allowed myself, and I've not been allowed the time or space to spend time in my wardrobe. So nothing fits me, nothing suits me. I don't know who I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to dress as. Let me just grab a shirt off of the hanger at the supermarket. It's £15, whatever, bung it into the trolley next to the potatoes, and that's my self-worth. Like, your self-worth is literally equivalent to a bag of potatoes. Then you go into your meeting the next day and the shirt doesn't quite fit properly. Of course it doesn't, because it's mass produced and it's poor quality, and it's maybe gaping, the holes, the buttons on the chest like gaping a bit, so you feel super self-conscious. So you're not present in the meeting in the way that you should be, because in the back of your mind you're focusing on how bad you look or how uncomfortable you feel.
I've got sweat patches under my arms.
That's a business problem. It's actually costing you money, because we're energetic beings. We pick up on non-verbal cues of communication. And the people you're meeting with, even though they might think that you're perfectly nice, they're like, I just don't trust that she's the right person for the job, because something just the energy of it was insecure. That's not good. And then after you are in your meeting, the next person comes in, and that's, a man in a nice suit because he's got a wife at home taking care of all this stuff for him, and he's allowed to spend money on his suit. And automatically, because of our culture as well, we see him as the person who's the authority.
More capable.
So he gets it. He gets the money. He gets the job. He gets the whatever, because you've had to martyr yourself. It's a whole thing. So that's why when people say to me, talking about style is frivolous, I'm like, actually, us not talking about it is patriarchy and conditioning, and it's a way of keeping women small. And I've never had so much backlash than when I talk about clients of mine who have transcended through the class. They've got socioeconomic growth, first people in their generations to do the type of thing they're doing. They get incredible jobs, and then they want to represent that through their wardrobes, and they have a lot of resistance to doing it because of all the reasons that we've just outlaid. And they find themselves in the sale rail M&S when they want to dress in Max Mara. I have never had so much backlash from women than when I've shared stories like that, because they'll say it's selfish, it's silly, it's frivolous. I can't believe that she would do that. Well, we're being played by the system, because the system keeps insisting that we spend money on rubbish that we don't need. It's bad quality. A lot of the stuff that we're buying that's low price is really bad quality. That means that you're in a perpetual state of keep having to buy stuff over and over and over again, wasting your time, because the stuff you bought in the first place isn't up to scratch. And it's being made by predominantly other women in countries where they don't earn the living wage. And we just, we call ourselves feminists, and we just carry on wearing this stuff and not asking questions about who made it. So that's why it's not frivolous to talk about clothes. I feel so passionately about this, as you can probably tell. Because it's if anything, it is a subject that is so layered and so nuanced and so multifaceted with all of these different things going on that it cannot possibly be frivolous or silly.
So lots of unlearning needed.
Yeah.
Which is why there are exercises in the book. Let's move on, because you talk about also the next thing I wanted to talk about was this thing called the compare and despair cycle, and what I've kind of called in my notes the social media misery machine. Kind of alluded to this a little bit at the beginning, this idea that we are kind of, our brains aren't designed to be able to cope with being exposed to these many people, this much information. We're constantly, even if we don't want to be, we're comparing ourselves constantly to all of these things that we are seeing. How do we step out of that?
Delete social media and
delete.
Just delete it. Just get out of it. I think the more comfortable you feel in yourself, the less that you have to go through that comparison, the better you feel about your own choices, that you have agency over what you're doing, the less that when you go on social media, you'll see that someone else is doing it a different way and you'll think, oh, I need to do that now. I need that thing. I need to look at, I need to. In business specifically, I think that we have been trained for instant gratification. And so we think that there is such a thing as overnight success. We think that if it's not quite working for us right now, or it's a bit slow, or we're having to do a lot of groundwork to get this train moving up the hill, that somehow means that we're failing. And it's not. It's business is actually really hard. And to get momentum in business is a hard thing to do. I've been at this for years and years. And because we then go on social media and we see someone saying, oh, I woke up today and I've made £100,000, we're comparing ourselves to that. And that's not realistic. We don't know if that's even true. I think we've lost the ability to think critically and to apply discernment. And we don't know how to view what we're seeing on social media through the lens of, is this even accurate? And why am I comparing myself to this? What is it about this thing that has triggered me in some way, that has made me feel a certain way about myself? The more we can ask questions like that, the less that we do compare, because someone else can be doing whatever they're doing. It doesn't affect me. It's not anything to do with me. Good luck to them. I'm on the path that I'm on and I know what I'm doing because I'm assured in myself. But that takes a lot of work, because from a very young age, you have been pitted against, specifically other girls, right? You've been pitted against other women for, as some of the brilliant poetry and literature and everything that we have on this subject says, for the attention of men. It's like, who's the prettiest, then it plays out in the media too, the way that the media talks about women, the way that it talks about, and it has throughout the toxic noughties, 90s to today, the way that it talks about women's bodies, the way that it compares and pits women against women, the way that if a woman shows ambition, she is princess pushy. To think of a clear example of this was someone who's constantly every single day in the media of like being like a princess pushy, when the woman's not even, she's just out there living her life. And we have such a problem with her because she's openly ambitious.
So doing the work to feel more secure in ourselves and our identity, and hopefully then
and just limit your exposure to it and see it for what it is. Social media is marketing, right? I'll be completely upfront. My social media is marketing. It's not the full picture of my life. Even when people have a personal brand online, that personal brand is cultivated for marketing purposes. When it's not actually the full behind the scenes of anyone's life, it's marketing. And the more you can realize that this is marketing, the better that you will fare when you're exposed to it.
I think that's so easy to forget, isn't it? That we're seeing this curated image of everything really on social media, and we don't get to see the behind the scenes and the kind of the scruffy slippers and, and the kind of slobbing
Right.
around in the kind of
I'm not posting on social media of me sitting on my sofa stuffing pizza in my mouth
dog walking
on a Friday
outfit.
night. Right. Like it is marketing. And even when you do have a personal brand that is quote unquote authentic, yes, it is authentic, but it's also for marketing purposes. That's what you're seeing. That's what you're comparing yourself to something that has been curated, comparing your full brilliant life. And the other thing is that it's so easy to forget that the most magical moments in life are not the big ones where you are stepping onto a stage or you're winning an award or your book gets published. That's fantastic. The real moments that you will remember, if we're getting really philosophical, at the end of your life are the times that you spent with your loved ones or your children, or just, like the rain, just getting caught in the rain, or freshly brewed coffee, or baked bread, or all of those little moments in life. The bird song, we take them for granted, and we're always looking outside for this big magic moment that's apparently going to make everything else worthwhile. Life is what's happening when you're waiting for life to happen.
Yeah, and I reread the end, a piece at the end, which made me feel quite emotional. Sorry. So you're talking about not saving everything for best, and yeah, just sort of not saving your favorite top or your kind of your best jewelry or the nice perfume, and yeah, just thinking if today was your last day, you'll be glad you squeezed every bit of juice from life from your wardrobe and from your makeup drawer. And we do so often, don't we? It's like, oh, I'm saving that for best, or like, I don't know where I'm going to wear that. You say you kind of find the thing that makes you feel amazing and then stick it at the back of the wardrobe.
Yeah, you just, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this. Let me just put it in the wardrobe for Christmas. The number of, in fact, almost every single wardrobe that I've ever been in, I've been in many, many wardrobes. There is something that is glitzy and amazing and sparkly, stand out. And when they're talking about it, the client will say, I love this so much. It's so fantastic. Their face will light up. Their physiology will change. And I'll say, when was the last time you wore it? And they'll be like, well, Christmas. It's only for Christmas. Why would you reserve
Never. I've never worn it.
Never. Yeah. Oh, I bought it, but I've never worn it. Why would you reserve that feeling just for Christmas? It's what you're doing when you're on your own is the most important thing. And yet we dress for that outside always, rather than dressing for ourselves.
If someone's got one of those things in their wardrobe, is there something like sort of exposure therapy? It's almost like wear it for an hour around the house, or what do you suggest to people?
As soon as you buy it, you must wear it, because then it just becomes part of your rotation. If you're in store, wear it out of the damn shop. Like, wear the thing, because then you will just
down the main street.
Yeah, because then you will get used to it. It then elevates your identity the more that you wear it. Enclosed cognition is the term for what happens to us psychologically when we wear certain types of clothing. So if you wear something that makes you feel amazing, you will take on a different level of traits. So if something makes you feel productive, confident, assertive, you will be those things, but it doesn't work if you don't wear it. So the symbolism has no magical effect unless you actually put it on your body. So hanging something in the wardrobe, saving it for best, is just a literal waste of time. And time is the one thing that is not guaranteed. And if you wore that and you felt amazing, you might find that you take different actions. So when Barry from work pushes your boundaries and you're wearing something fantastic, you are probably more likely to go back and say, Barry, no. Here's the line, don't cross it. Whereas if you feel like a potato, you are more likely to just let people overstep your boundaries. Or maybe there's an opportunity that you see. If you're feeling fantastic, you're going to go for the opportunity. But if you feel like a potato, you're going to give yourself all of the reasons that you can't go for the opportunity. And that, again, is why it matters in a business context, because it will literally change the actions that you take, which then in the long term will change the trajectory of where it is that you're going.
Quite a lot of women get to midlife and feel like they're in a bit of a rut and don't know how to get out of it. Whether that's kind of don't feel like they can wear the things that they wore in their 20s, 30s. They've kind of come out of the sort of intense maybe period of mothering if they've got kids, not quite ready for the, you know, M&S lilac cardi kind of crimpling slacks. Don't know if they still sell those. I hope not. Someone's buying them anyway. But any kind of thoughts other than doing the work in the book, or any of the kind of particular exercises in there that you'd recommend as a sort of a jumping off point for getting out of that kind of I talked to somebody last week who was talking about feeling frumpy and kind of, you know, wanting to get out of that rut.
Mm-hmm. The first thing I would say is that this is actually a really exciting period of life, even though the media and culture would have us believe that it's all downhill from here, and as a woman in midlife you're supposed to be invisible. Actually, we know that those women, they have access to finances that you don't have previously. Maybe your children are leaving home, so then, you know, you've got the additional time and space and resources to do things for yourself. You are vastly more intelligent than you were in your 20s and 30s. You've got all of these accomplishments. I would say actually, like, it's the prime, and there are certain women in society that have kind of gone against what we've perceived as what you're supposed to be. Like, you know, Catherine O'Hara, who was on Schitt's Creek, as an example.
I've just been rewatching that with my 12-year-old, and we've just been loving it.
Just fabulous. Just walking around wearing these absolutely insane outfits. Just that, like, the sheer joy of dressing however you want can't be underestimated. So I think that the first thing is actually embracing that this potentially could be it could be a really exciting time of your life. And just because the media has portrayed this idea that you're supposed to be down and out or invisible doesn't mean that you actually are. And looking for role models, that I can think of so many brilliant women I know in their just, you know, 40s, 50s, 60s, incredible women, accomplished women who are really stylish. Find those women, and where you can, if you can, get into environments where those women are, because your environment shapes who you are, right? As the saying goes, you are an amalgamation of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. If you're in a bubble where you're made to feel invisible or you're last on the list, try and find environments where there will be brilliant women who lift you up and show you that actually that's not the case at all. You are fantastic. And then, as you said, the work in the book probably will help, because even if you are, let's say in fact, there is a client that I have who is in her 60s, and there was 2 particular exercises that we did that really were profound for her. And the first one was where we went back and we thought about her as a child, because even when you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, your beliefs are formed from the ages of 0 to 7, most of your core beliefs. So when you're a grown woman, it's not actually you that's dressing you, it's that version of you. So it's a 5-year-old who was told that money doesn't grow on trees, and not to show off and not to be too much, and she can't wear that thing, or she was mocked for what she wore, whatever. That's the one who's actually running your wardrobe. She's your inner personal stylist. So going back and exploring all of her stories, that was really helpful. And the other thing that was really helpful was to write a letter to her 90-year-old self, because even though she's in her 60s, you've got another brilliant 30 years. Like, that's actually really exciting. Another 30 years until you're in your 90s. So she wrote a letter to herself now from her 90-year-old self, and she found that really helpful, because she realized that the 90-year-old version of you is going to say to you, why are we wasting time on this? Is the best that we're ever this is the best that we're ever going to look, right? This day today,
wear the shorts.
Just wear the damn shorts.
Whatever.
Yeah. So that actually can be really helpful, and it's emotional. And like you said earlier, it's why it's actually really hard, and you want to resist doing it because it's really hard. But anything worth doing is really hard. The alternative is you go out and buy loads of clothes that don't really suit you, you don't really like very much, you don't have the confidence to wear, they hang in your wardrobe for the next 2 years. And you
Accusingly. Like, you
yeah,
bought
like
me.
making you feel guilty every time you open your wardrobe. They're there saying, "Why haven't you lost weight? Why haven't you worn us? Why aren't you the person that you said you were going to be?"
You talked about emotion there, and I think sometimes that sort of, there's that emotional spending kick. Like, I feel down about something, I feel bad about something, I'm going to treat myself, I'm going to buy something that will make me feel better. And quite often it doesn't. It might even do the opposite. How, any kind of thoughts on how we can avoid going down that sort of slippery emotional spending slope?
The more that you learn about how big retailers use your emotions against you, the more equipped you will be to understand when they're trying to do it to you. And in the age of the internet, this has become even more insidious. So it's the way that you go into a website and it will say, 100 people are looking at this right now. Your size is really low in stock. You better get this. And they'll incentivize you. So they will say the price is £500 and you're going to get 10% off. And that, when you know that the full price is £500, actually feels like a significant amount of money. So you're rushing to buy it because they're putting this time limit on you and they're tracking you all around the internet. Suddenly you see adverts for it on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. It's everywhere telling you now, and you must buy it now. And even in store, there are all of these psychological tools that they use to make you feel like you need to buy stuff. But it's actually even more sinister than that, because it's in the language that is used, it's in the way that you're made to feel. And as Sarah Wynne Williams wrote in Careless People, which is her expose at Facebook, they know, they were able to understand patterns for teenage girls and the rest of us of when you feel emotional. And at that point, they will push adverts onto you for things that they want you to buy or actions that they want you to take. So the more that you can understand that, the more you will become a much better consumer, because you can start to ask questions of, wait a minute, do I actually want this? Or is this something that I'm just being told
What's
that
triggering?
I want? Yeah. So I think in the book I say, on Monday, you might be perfectly fine with your earlobes, right? Your ears are fine. You've never had a problem with them. By Wednesday, because you've seen so many adverts for this miracle ear cream, you are convinced that your ears are
I've got wrinkly earlobes.
planning to be fixed.
It's the end of the world.
Miracle creams that don't work. So recognizing your emotional triggers as well is a big one, because emotional spending is a huge problem. In fact, on the day that the book came out, one woman told me that she had been on the ASOS website. She's a very, very demanding job, and it was late, and she got home and she was just like mindlessly scrolling through ASOS, adding stuff to the basket that she didn't really need. And she'd forgotten that she'd bought the book. She bought it on the pre-order. So she got a notification that it had downloaded, and she started to read it instead. And she said it felt like divine intervention, because she was just about to drop a load of money on stuff that she didn't need. And the book made her think, wait a minute, why am I doing that? It's always a plaster for something much deeper. That's often how we use it. And then in our society, we go, oh, how fun, it's retail therapy. Like, silly women in their retail therapy, shopping is my cardio. You know, we've kind of made it into this fun, silly, frivolous thing, when actually it's so much deeper than that.
Yeah, and that's before we even get into the fast fashion harm, which is a whole other podcast episode. That,
don't even get me started.
Don't know. One of the things that you talk about in the book is literally getting everything out of your wardrobe and kind of going through it all. Is there a kind of optimal time to do that and a suboptimal time when you're kind of working? I mean, obviously not like, I don't know, if you've just been dumped or fired, or, but like, if you're going to do that, you're obviously going to need a good, half a day, couple of hours.
Yep.
Set the scene.
I would think of it as a non-negotiable business activity, because it's really interesting how women can find space in their calendar for everybody else's stuff, and when it comes to themselves, they'll find a way to cancel. Your stuff in your calendar is the stuff that should be immovable and non-negotiable, whether that is going through your wardrobe once a quarter, or whether it's, I don't know, a review of your finances. It's got to be an unmovable thing. It's like a client meeting. You wouldn't cancel unless you're in very, very extreme circumstances. You're never going to cancel or move a client appointment. Don't do that to yourself, because every time you do that, you say, I'm not worth prioritizing. So first of all, think of it as a non-negotiable business activity. And it's a business activity because the better you feel about what you wear, the better you'll be able to perform in your business or in your role, whatever it is that you do. Then you don't have to do it all at once. If that feels really overwhelming, you could just start with an hour here or an hour there. The more you do it, the quicker it becomes. So now I do this every quarter, or when I'm feeling like I'm going through a bit of an identity shift or upgrade, or I'm in a bit of a funk because I know that the things that I'm doing are outpacing how I'm dressing. It takes me a lot less time now because I've perfected the process. But the first time you do it is probably going to take a bit longer because you've never done it before. I mean, how many women really have ever got everything out of their wardrobe and really looked at it through the lens of, why did I buy this? How did this come to be here? How does it make me feel? Is this something that I really want to keep? Because it's all energy as well. And if there's stuff in your wardrobe that makes you feel bad, that's no good. If you're wearing stuff that makes you feel suboptimal, that is impacting your behavior. So it's really important to get rid of that stuff. If there's only one thing that you do the first time that you do it, just get rid of stuff that you hate. It's astounding how many women I work with would go through their wardrobe and I ask them to tell me how they feel about certain things. They'd be like, I hate that. I absolutely hate it. Why is it in your wardrobe? And it's usually, well, I bought it and I never wore it and now I feel bad about it. Or someone gave it to me and I feel like I can't get rid of it because that would make me feel like a terrible...
The stories we tell ourselves.
It's all of that you're actually holding on to. You're holding on to loads of guilt that women have enough guilt to contend with already. We're just layering more of it on top of ourselves at our own detriment. So if there's one thing that you do, and there'll probably, for people listening to this, there probably will be something in their wardrobe they can already picture that they absolutely hate. Get rid of it. Go into your wardrobe, get rid of it. If you have to journal about it, fine.
I'm trying to think if there's anything in mind. I think I'm pretty good. I'm not Samantha level kind of ninja wardrobe editor quite, but I'm going to go and have a sneaky look after we finish and just see if there is anything still lingering that I'm be like, oh, I should really get rid of this. But
yeah. And then it's actually just thinking about why you're holding on to it. And sometimes that answer doesn't come to us immediately because it's so deep rooted that it might not actually be anything that you can verbalize.
Unless you've done the exercises.
Well, unless you've done the exercises in full of them.
That seems like a really good place to wrap up. Samantha, where can everyone find you? And more importantly, where can they find the book?
You can find the book on Amazon, or if you go to justgetdressed.com, that's a website dedicated to it. You can find me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Substack, all the places.
Everywhere.
You can find me everywhere, talking in very nuanced, aggressive detail about my clothes.
Upsetting men and a few women.
I'm just upsetting men.
It's been lovely to catch up with you. Thank you so much. And
thank you for having me.
Invitation, everyone listening, to go and make a date with your wardrobe.
Yes. Just get dressed. If anything, it's kind of annoying though, because my husband read my book and he really got a lot from it. But the problem with that is that now, the other day I was in a grump and he was like, well,
you know what to do.
You know what to do, don't you?
Did you slap him?
I wanted to punch him. Yeah. So,
Samantha, thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. Don't forget that you can find the full back catalogue by going to www.middlingalong.com. See you next time.